Welcome back to Cup of TCG, and we are prepping for ProQuest. We've got another video in our new series where we are getting some reps on the decks that we're going to be taking round the southeast England area for our ProQuests. Today, I'm going to be playing Puffin.
And I'm going to be on Oscilio.
So feeling playing a different deck than last time, maybe keeping your options open for PQ season. I'm pretty locked into Puffin here. I've been having a lot of fun with the deck lately, so we'll get into some deck techs. Okay guys, this is the Puffin deck I'm going to be playing in today's video. This deck is heavily inspired by the Boost Puffin deck that Emmanuel played recently. He's talked about that deck a little bit on AgroBlades' channel, which is a great watch. So you've got your boost cards in the middle here, kind of standard stuff. We're going to up the number of throttles. The two cost boost cards really good in this deck in combination with Teklo Foundry Heart. But the big change in this deck is the inclusion of Backspin Thrust. So Backspin Thrust, new card from Super Slam. It's going to let us untap a cog to get +1 or go again. That's going to try and combo really nicely with Sky Skimmer, which is new in the deck as well. We're going to include Pinion Sentry now that we've got a way to untap our cogs, because Pinion Sentry is going to help us tap them on defense, which also unlocks a cool little line where we get to block with Pinion Sentry alongside Cogworks Tinkerings to crank 2 cogs on our opponent's turn and draw a card defensively, which can be really powerful. We're playing against Oscilio today. However, we're not bringing any Arcane Barrier. We are going to bring Balance of Justice, however, because that hero likes to draw a few cards during his turn and during our turn sometimes. So that's going to help us keep aggressive and try and punish the lack of blocks from our Oscilio opponent. And that's the Puffin deck.
All right, this is the Oscilio list I'm going to be playing today. There's nothing original here. This is just based off Yuto's list. Everyone knows Yuto. He's the Oscilio GOAT. I'll believe what he says. So we have our lightning attacks on the left. We've got the blasts ×6, flittering charges, and Godina flashes. Obviously, in an aggro matchup, and I've found Puffin to be very aggressive. We're hoping to draw these nice and early so we can get a good early combo, steal tempo, and win the game from there. We then have our 6 surge spells, etchings, and mind warp. The more mind warps, the better. And then we've got the sort of miscellaneous lightning attacks in eclectic and current funnel. I've got a small D-react package here of 3 sinks and 2 shelters, and then the 3-block shock suite, which is Comet Storm and Consigned to Cosmos Shock, which is the newest card Oscilio got and is very good. We then here have our column of instants, Sigil, because it's an aggro matchup, the life totals are going to be important, and then all of the lightning instants because they're all good. And finally, we have our contingent of sigils. We've got the standard 9 plus 2 sigils of Aether, because in a short matchup, you want to have the highest percentage chance to see a sigil so you can actually use Voltar for free. And for the equipment suite, we have the standard Oscilio combo, well, the standard equipment suite, really. I'm opting for Old Knocker because I think there's potential for this to be a very fast game. Puffin can be very aggressive, so I don't think there'll be much room for Tunic. And that's everything. So
Oscilio versus Puffin here. We've got a pretty standard Oscilio equipment suite from you, Finlay, don't you think?
Yeah, standard fast equipment suite, you know, as always. And we've got the horrible Balance of Justice on the Puffin side, which, as I learned, is it's just an extra element of like depth in Oscilio gameplay. When you have to think about Balance of Justice, it makes every activation of the hero more confusing, and so on.
Yeah, card's really good at the moment. Been great into Gravy, into KO, into Oscilio as well. So getting our money's worth out of Balance of Justice, and Puffin a deck that's happy to splash some different headpieces, right? Usually seeing Crown of Dominion, but yeah, the extra card draw, especially in this boost variant of the deck that I'm playing, can really help push some numbers. And that's the game plan. No Arcane Barrier, just going to use our equipment to block and push Finlay's life total as much as we can. Not sure who had the start here. I think it was possibly you.
It must be me. Seeing the pause this long, it must be the Oscilio player who's on the start. And it's tricky because I remember this now. I have CLV, Sigil of Conductivity, and I have a Gonin Flash, which I'm pitching in response to the activation of Sigil of Conductivity here to keep the CLV around. And I was deciding, because I think this is a very fast matchup, I'm deciding whether or not it is worth potentially not finding another Gonin Flash this game to keep CLV around. In this one, I settle on it is. You know, if you keep CLV around multiple times, it's really good, and I know that Callum has no AB, so I'm going to get a nice draw here.
Yeah, big downside for me to not be presenting any AB, especially going second. but I seem to remember my hand wasn't amazing, so I was kind of happy to have a redraw here.
Something to keep in mind as Oscilio is that, of course, turn 0 shocking the bird is always a viable play, and it's something that's very easy to forget because it only comes into play against Puffin.
Yeah, true. Puffin, a great card against decks like Oscilio who want to be attacking in multiples of 4, and no easy weapon swing as well into the bird. So throttle here, 6 go again, a card I absolutely love in this deck because you leave the 1 floating resource off a blue. So activate that Teklo Foundry Heart to present one of your bigger ships, should you have the cog set up to do so. Looks like it's going to be a pretty standard boost start for me here.
And I've been complaining to Callum about this since he's been playing Puffin, but it's actually so difficult to extract, like, if you have a full blocking hand, it's very difficult to get all the value. You want to block their early chain link boost cards, but you know that it's really important to block the Zeppelins and other big ships that come later on. And if you waste blocks on the first chain link, you won't be able to full block to cog starve them. Yeah. So it's very difficult to know if you're meant to commit blocks on the first chain link or not.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've spoken about as well, right? The Zeppelin with a cog up also kind of functioning as like an on-hit +3 damage or +2 damage on the gun, and sometimes even a draw card, right? With if you've already cranked. So here I'm trying to get some cards out of Finlay early before activating Poly, so that he has less options on how to kill Poly. Get to see what we draw off the top here, activating Foundry Heart, and ripping a Zeppelin off the top, which is what you want to see, especially after taking a few cards to block from the early chain links like we spoke about. Yeah,
the Zeppelin's slightly less threatening here, of course, as we've had the Puffin draw already, but it's still a significant chunk of damage.
We say if not able to be competently blocked, it's say translates into an extra bit of damage with the Spitfire as well.
Yeah. And I would imagine from the Oscilio side, I'm looking to capitalise on this CLV that I established turn 0. Like I've said, I think the game tends to be very fast, so I would probably like to dig towards that Gone in a Flash turn. We know I have a Blast to Oblivion, and I'm targeting Poly, I believe, based on that that very quick hand gesture.
The bird did not live for long, but she got us card draw, got us like an additional 6 damage on that turn, so can't be too upset.
Blast to Oblivion obviously is slightly weaker without an embodiment to give it go again. That's when its true power is, and so I don't actually manage to convert this second card draw off CLV. We saw I Arsenaled on the Edgings of Arcana on turn 0, and that's going to come in very nicely with this Sigil of Brilliance, which is exactly what you want, right? Get many card draws out of that one Sigil.
Soup up a card in Puffin. Not a card that boosts, but a card in Puffin that I've really been enjoying. 4 value on offense and defense in the blues, translating into 4 value on defense often feels pretty good.
Would you say there's any anything like exceptional about the game plan you're trying to execute into Oscilio, or is it just to kind of aggro them down as quickly as possible?
It is a case of trying to be as aggressive as possible. Sometimes you need to... Palantir Aeronaut can be quite a good card into you as well, right? Because of every piece of equipment is quite useful on a on a combo turn. Flash of Brilliance, if you can sneak that one away early, can be really nice. And I think we just saw me draw the first Palantir here. I did boost one away earlier, which is not ideal, but if we find one, it's a good way to cheat in a chunk of damage.
An Eclectic with Embodiment is quite interesting. It's not the most powerful combination of cards because, well, unless I have another attack, of course, but normally Eclectic is sort of making its own action point with the spell you cast.
So here I'm making use of the defensive armor that I've brought into this matchup at the earliest opportunity. The only previous physical damage went to my bird, so just gonna get my block value and keep my life total high as I can. Cogworks Tinkerings have actually been amazing in conjunction with Pinion Sentry for me recently. Boosted one earlier in the game, I think. Didn't see one next to it here. Quite often I like to hold the Tinkerings till I find Opinion Century, but this game I think we're just going as quickly as we can.
I'm having a big internal debate here because obviously we know I'm casting the Etchings that's in my arsenal, and we know that the Surge effect is going to happen no matter what, but I also have a Sigil of Lightning in my hand, and you want to arsenal one of these two sigils as Oscilio, and I'm trying to work out if I want the extra damage that you would get by casting Sigil of Lightning, or if I want to get the card draw, basically, by playing the Sigil of Brilliance and arsenaling the Sigil of Lightning. Obviously here I elect for the more damage efficient option. And to be fair, Embodiment of Lightning, you know, your turns as Oscilio where you start with an Embodiment of Lightning are significantly better than when you don't, because it unlocks every Blast to Oblivion line and so on.
Yeah, for sure. So one cog on the board for me here, full grip. Got a cog in the machine here. Interesting matchup in the sense that we don't need to be tapping a cog to put this on the bottom of our deck.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty quick.
Oh, but you elect to.
I think I'm cog rich this turn. It's getting the Puffin draw off cranking both of these cog in the machines.
Yeah.
2 action points.
Always scary when Puffin starts with a cog in the machine. You know that that's their true like ceiling turn, right?
Yeah,
they
sure.
have maximum coggage.
And these 0 cost boost cards like 0 to 60 and Fast and Furious really unlocking the Teklo Foundry Heart at minimal cost as well. So these 2 resources I have here can quickly become 3, depending on how I choose to use them.
And as mentioned by Callum before, the combination of T-Bone and Palantir Aeronaut in this matchup specifically can be absolutely backbreaking, because you will basically lose your Flash of Brilliance, which is it's always sad to not pair it with Sigil of Brilliance.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something I'm very good at, Finlay, is banishing the Fast and Furious off of the Foundry Heart and not off of the boosts. So
yeah. It's funny, there's so many times it looks like Puffin is just boosting the worst cards imaginable from the top of deck. You see so many of the big boats go, so many cog in the machine, so many Palantirs, you know, yeah. It's tough.
So here, Cogworks Workshop is, I'm not going to crank the cog that I make because I have an extra action point, and this is why we tapped a cog back to the bottom of the deck, right, to put cog in the machine on the bottom of the deck, because we have a Palantir and we have plenty of cogs to make use of it. So nice here for me to be going into my following turn with 2 golden cogs as well, potentially also unlocking a golden Skywarden block as well.
It's almost too many cogs you have on board, because you don't get to... You're not going to be able to use Unicycle here. Yeah,
for sure. You'd kind of have almost rather that Cogworks Workshop was a just another damage attack, right?
And the interesting decision here is whether or not Callum is going to push damage or kill my Aether Bindings, which is going to extract a potential kind of 2 offensively, as well as the 1 defensively.
So I opt for the 3 block card here, and I think it's debatable, right? Because I think if you assume that there's potential for you to resolve a second Palantir, you should definitely take the Aether Bindings. However, seeing 1 boosted away early and playing the second one here in a short game means that I'm a bit nervous about my actual potential to resolve a second Palantir.
And I am Etchings spamming in this matchup. There's something about playing against a 0 AB opponent as Oscilio, where you can take a lot of these kind of... I guess the term is efficient 2-card lines. It is only 4 damage, but you feel safe in every Surge effect.
Yeah.
It lets you play quite defensively, I guess, while setting up.
Yeah,
and obviously, if I manage to secure a Gon and a Flash on this turn, it's going to be very powerful because the Flash of Brilliance is up and so on.
So we've got a second cog in the machine here, which is very nice for me. Let's see if we put this one on the bottom as well. No reason not to, I suppose, with this many cogs.
Yeah. Is there such a thing as too many cogs? It almost feels like it here, doesn't it? Because the copper cogs are not going to be so good.
But the cog in the machine letting us get to 2 action points, is really the biggest benefit of the card. A free Puffin activation, and here we see Backspin Thrust for the first time in the game. A card that I'm testing. Also, a good reason to be tapping our cogs on cog in the machines is the potential to untap them with Backspin Thrust. Unfortunately, hitting the banish zone instead this turn.
And we see my first Oscilio activation. Almost certainly a weakness in my Oscilio gameplay. I should be digging towards Gon and the Flashes and so on. discarding a Blink. I've had plenty of conversations with both Callum and Ryan about how they think I am undervaluing Blink. It's probably true.
We have just found a Gone in the Flash, though, by the looks of what we just drew. So kind of scary for me. Kind of hoping to be hitting lethal pretty quick here.
I mean, it should be not too hard for Puffin to present 16, right?
No,
on a 5-card hand.
Maybe wondering why I am still boosting on a turn that I have 2 action points, but boosting obviously unlocking our Teklo Foundry Heart. So potentially, and also digging to some power cards maybe.
Throttle, a simple card that you have been raving about in recent times, right?
Yeah, I actually up to 7 throttles in the deck at the moment. There was a point, actually it might be even 8, actually definitely a point where I was considering a full 9 throttles, because it really does just feel like a powerful card when you pair it with Foundry Heart and the 2 cost ships.
And here I think we see a pretty significant misplay from me, right? That I'm letting you activate balance on your turn to push.
Yeah.
This turn, so like it's now become a 6-card hand, and I'm only at 12 health. So I think that's a really significant misplay.
Cogworks Dovetail is an absolutely amazing card on the Cog in the Machine turns, because you get to use all 3 of those instants to pump damage, and you don't have to cash in one of those instants for go again, which is really, really nice.
I mean, it's like the ultimate extender here, isn't it? Yeah. It's going to be so hard for an Oscilio to properly block this card.
So here we start cashing in these cogs.
7 go again.
Going to pump it to 8 because we've got
AP.
the extra action point. Untapping 4 cogs to see if we can make use of them. Taking Finlay down to 4 already.
Yeah.
This could be a quick one.
My arms have hit the table. Probably body language not very positive here. Again, something you should avoid doing, I suppose.
The Gone in a Flash looks like it may have come just a little bit too late.
Yeah.
So Finlay has to respect this here, because if he only gives it one block on equipment, I can just pump it to 5 rather than give it go again.
Yep. Oh, and the big Zeppelin coming in afterwards.
Yeah, so absolutely huge turn. Pretty much fully unlocked, like Finlay says, by that defensive balance of justice. He says by that defensive balance of justice.
Yeah. A major mistake. And whilst my hand does block it, it's not going to...
doesn't bode well for the rest of the game,
it does not bode well for Oscilio at this point. I'm not going to be able to hold a large hand, so I think I concede at this point.
Yeah. Understandable. Like I say, it's. I think you will still get the hit trigger on the Zeppelin and still shoot the gun. So
yeah, I mean the Zeppelin would go up to 7, so I could block with the Greaves. Yeah.
Good game.
Yeah.
We're back for game 2 of Oscilio versus Puffin. Here I got a pretty fast win game 1, which was the game plan.
I think it's a really interesting game 1, you know, because it shows that decision I made turn 0, where I pitched my Gone in a Flash, is a mistake. I shouldn't throw it away in the early game against a deck that I think I have to combo in, you know, the first 4 turns.
Yeah, for sure.
So now I've learnt from my mistakes. I don't get rid of a Blink, I get rid of a Somersault, and I'm Oscilioing more aggressively, I suppose, to find combo pieces.
So I think in my hand, I just got a peek. I think I have a Cog in the Machine next to a Palantir very early here. So when these sort of power cards line up, it's pretty nice. Gives a Mordred Revel kind of vibes back from back in the day.
It's it is. Puffin puts out a surprising amount of damage. I think it's tricky in Fab when you don't really know what a deck is going to do, and it's a huge value. So
we're all too familiar with Gravy Bones and KO Lions and all of these sorts of decks at this point, but Puffin a deck that's started showing a little bit of face, but not to the point where everyone is expertly navigating how to block her. I found Puffin to be pretty good into these aggro decks that don't really want to block you. The Zeppelins really do just get that extra damage.
Yeah, to me it all comes down to the value you extract from both Dovetail and Zeppelin, not really Palantir, right? Because it is so difficult for some of these decks to block Zeppelin, and Puffin stumbles when a defensive deck Cog starves her. But an aggressive deck would just... You're going to be so reluctant to put 8 in front of a red Zeppelin, you know, and some hands won't even do 8.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm just extracting a bit of defensive value from my hand here. Again, it's very difficult to block Cogwork's Dovetail in a way that feels good. If you overblock, they'll just give it go again and go on to the next chain link, and if you underblock, they'll get to reset both their cogs.
So what I do here is I am saving a Dovetail activation here to see whether Finlay has the defense reaction or not. So if he does, we get to use the other cog to give go again, and if he doesn't, then we get to use the Dovetail ability to give go again in the damage step after dealing 3 damage and untapping both cogs, because I'm going to use both of these cogs to get this Sky Skimmer up to 5, as I still have an extra action point. Going to hold on to the Palantir in my arsenal here by the looks of it. Didn't really have the resources to make it work efficiently on this turn. That is one of the downsides of Cog in the Machine, costing a resource.
Sky Skimmer, a card I believe you only included because of Backspin Thrust.
Yeah.
How's it working out?
So I was testing Backspin Thrust alongside cards like Pinion Sentry, which taps your cogs, Sky Skimmer, which is a sort of extender that taps your cogs. It's been pretty clunky, honestly. It's not been as efficient and as simple as the standard boost sort of stuff that we're used to, which might not shock a lot of people, to be honest.
It's almost leaning into it's like enabling defensive decks to better Cogstar view when you include it. And here I have found my Gone in a Flash nice and early and combined it with a Blink, which is just fantastic. I'm going to extract real value this turn.
And I'm just, like I did last game, just putting my equipment in the first available opportunity that I can, just staying at that high life total, getting that balance ready to break as soon as Finlay affords me the opportunity. And we're going to make the cog here because we have that Palantir. Let's see if I have much more cog generation in my hand.
And the thing always as a combo deck that's reliant on its equipment against Puffin is you have to be hyper aware of whether or not they're going to be able to activate a Palantir every turn cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
You cannot afford to lazily block with Lightning Greaves and obviously Old Knocker in
Palantir, a card that can destroy equipment on previous chain links. So kind of baiting Finlay out here in a way by only presenting one cog at the beginning of this turn. I have a copper cog in hand that I'm going to be using, but should Finlay say I'll block with the Greaves, that might be pretty good for me.
There's quite a runebladey sequency vibe here, right, where it's much better to hide how many cogs you truly have until later in the turn.
Some might say that's part of the reason I've been quite enjoying Puffin, a bit of an aggressive Runeblade type of gameplay.
And another game where I failed to shock Polly immediately.
The bird that lived. Just getting one poly activation in these matchups feels pretty good here.
And here's a card that I believe actually got cut eventually, but is really nasty in this matchup because, again, I have to think about Palantir, so I can't, against Dio, Greaves goes in here, right? But, well, maybe Aether Bindings, but you just cannot risk your Greaves at this stage.
Yep, for sure. So now I'm going to get the option as to which of 2 equipment pieces to destroy, and believe it or not, I'm not going to get the option to destroy Lightning Greaves. Probably a little bit too important for the Oscilio game plan.
Even then, it's a big deal, the fact that you're going to take Flash of Brilliance here. It locks you out of a whole line, right, as Oscilio. So
definitely happy to trade my Unicycle for your Flash of Brilliance this turn.
Well, you don't even need to, right? Because
Blade Break, of course.
You don't have to do the Palantir effect, and often you'll see Puffins do a line where they will activate Palantir twice and hold the final activation for if a D-React will hit the chain or not, which is a nice trick. Yeah,
for sure. Again, you can even do the third activation in the damage step if you're waiting on this sort of stuff.
Which is what we see here, I believe, right?
So I think we just pump it to 8 and just say, look, you can have the 1 block value. It's not worth my Unicycle here.
I suppose the one thing about not killing the Aether Bindings is that if you play another Palantir, you're not going to take Old Knocker or Greaves, right? Sure. So there's something to think about there.
In a matchup where you are not playing Crown of Dominion, so an easy access to another cog, sometimes it can be quite difficult to get the cog economy for a Palantir if not drawn next to a cog in the machine. So we've already cashed in our tinkerings here, which is kind of unfortunate because we'd love to be using the Pinion Sentry in combination to draw a card defensively. But happy to put a card in front of a Gone in a Flash.
Pinion Sentry here making me wonder if this Gone in a Flash should have hit Poly instead.
Yeah, true.
Because what? Okay, well, definitely not then in this case. But you know, the standard Oscilio combo, tapping the hero with Old Knocker into the Greaves.
So I'm at a healthy 38 here, but that life total can quickly dwindle against these combo turns.
And even if I don't manage to do too much damage, I probably will get tempo here. It's likely Callum's going to commit most of his hand to defense.
See how good my hand is, eh?
Yeah.
So not been afforded the luxury of popping this Balance of Justice yet in this game.
Well, it's very brave, isn't it, to hold on to a full grip against an Oscilio combo turn, because if I Mind Warp you at the end of it, you lose a huge amount of value.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes you say, let's see if you've got it.
Yeah. Nothing particularly flashy on this combo turn, I'd say. It's a shame that the Sigil of Solace isn't a lightning card.
Yeah.
But I do have an actual Sigil hit the board, or two, in the form of Sigil of Brilliance and Conductivity. And Callum not committing blocks from hand, so feels confident in, well, converting aggressively next turn cycle. Well, that would be my read. Was it right?
Yeah, possibly. So maybe one of the sort of sleeper cards to Arsenal in Puffin is your Copper Cogs, because alongside your Poly activation it can equal just refunding itself with a card draw. So not sure what I've Arsenaled here, but Poly living may be a contributing factor as to why I didn't decide to block.
Yeah, and there I present an 11 on the etchings, but there was no Sigil in graveyard, so it's still a good turn. Still takes the armor, takes cards, but it's not amazing. It just brings us to parity.
Cogworks Workshop, a card that I'm not a massive fan of, but a necessary evil in the sense that it does keep your cogs around for a while, and of course it's half of a Puffin card draw, so converts nicely on a heavy blue hand.
Yeah, and a solid, floor of blue block 3 Mechanologist. Soup Up's a real menace in this deck, eh?
Yeah, for sure. The flexibility of being able to convert defensively or offensively, really nice. I think I must have drawn it off the top there, because I'm sure if I had it in hand on the previous turn I would have been tempted to get the 4 value defensively against Oscilio. 2 floating, not what you want to see against Puffin, right? These are 2 cost ships, really nice, and look, I've even got the cogs for another Palantir, so
yeah, and not boosted this turn too, so yeah, the 2 floating is really sad.
Sometimes these 1-cost non-attack actions like your cog in the machines and the workshops, they really curve nicely with your turns, and other turns you really don't get the luxury to use up all your resources in that, like in that Dovetail Sky Skimmer turn earlier on.
You can see that I've Oscilio'd away a CLV. Obviously we know I have a Gone in a Flash in my arsenal, and CLV and Gone in a Flash is not a combination of cards that plays well together.
Yeah.
So it seems to make sense to get rid of it.
I think now we are post-combo on the Oscilio game, so it's a case of trading evenly now. I am down a couple of resources, like you said. I've used the Tinkerings, so still got some things in my arsenal, but I think we're at a point in the game where I am hoping that the top 4 cards of my deck every turn are kind to me to keep aggressive.
I mean, I'd imagine from my perspective, I'm looking to play a 2-card hand with this Gone in a Flash that creates a embodiment of lightning, and then the next turn would be a more powerful turn, and play that kind of style. But post Greaves and without an embodiment of lightning, it's very difficult for Oscilio to convert a whole hand.
Drawing a second Gone in the Flash here, at least you know that Puffin is not playing a great deal of arsenal destruction.
Yeah, indeed. It's always it's refreshing as Oscilio to play against a deck that isn't packing all the hate, right?
Yeah. So the second Palantir of the game, but Finny feeling pretty good about having already used up his aggressive equipment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, you know what, lose those 8 bindings, I'll pump this to 9. Happy to get a chunk of damage in here.
Yeah, my hand must be reasonably... well, we see a blink, so we already know that my hand's going to be quite convincing, right? Because it's
yeah, for sure.
3-card hand with blink.
And here I'm hoping, please, please, please draw a second card this turn, because I'd love to crack my Balance of Justice.
Yeah, for sure. The balance just adds this extra element you have to always think about, and it does make it very tough. Of course, it's a bit of an onus on the side of Puffin as well, because you have to make sure you remember if your opponent's drawn 2 cards in one turn cycle.
So it happens on defense more often than you'd think as well, right? With cards like Sink Below and Flash with the Sigil of Brilliance.
Absolutely.
Actually not. It has happened a few times in our games where I've drawn a card while being aggressive.
So I believe playing this Gone in a Flash is a mistake that we quickly roll back because
you have a better memory than I do. That's for sure.
That's a feeling I have here. We'll see. Yeah. So apologies for that, everyone, but it's better to have a game where we actually do the right lines.
I say the intention of this series is for us to get some good reps for our ProQuest practice. And
Yellow Blast finally kills Polly, but Polly's been alive for so long, right, that
you're always happy to get that amount of value out of Polly, even especially if she also tanks a full attack action card like Blast to Oblivion.
I mean, three damage going into Polly is significant at this point, right? Like, you're on no AB, you need to keep your health total as high as possible.
You can almost equate it to being like an extra Battle Worn 2 equipment piece or something, right? That you get to equip on top of your normal armor suite, because it really does just save you X amount of life depending on how much damage your opponent has to throw into it.
And Blast to Oblivion plays so nicely with Sigil of Conductivity here, doesn't it? Like the embodiments of lightning. And bouncing them back. Shame there's no instant spell to go at the end. Consigned to Cosmos Shock would have been premium, but not to be.
When I was dabbling in Oscilio for a little while, I was really, Sigil of Conductivity is one of those cards that at the beginning of playing the deck you're like, this card's kind of okay. It's hard to get it off the board when you want to make the embodiment, etc. But when you have those games where you just get the free Volzar activation every turn, it feels really nice.
Yeah, indeed. Here's Callum's favourite card again, the Throttle, yellow.
The yellow Throttle. Yeah, Polly, I'm pitching away a Copper Cog, so the Polly here would have been really, really nice to cash in the extra card draw, right?
But importantly, you are representing another big ship, right? Because you're going to have 2 floating after your Teklo Foundry Heart activation. Yeah. And there it is.
Puffin a deck that's like, at the moment, having to play a lot of these yellow copies of cards because of the lack in depth of card pool, but in reality the cards often function as blues as well, right? Because of the activation of Teklo Foundry Heart. So Cogwork Zeppelin just, I mean, honestly, a powerful enough card that you're happy to play the yellows as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think if the should have to get quite a significant card quality increase, right, to make you not run yellow Zeppelin?
Yeah, for sure.
And here I'm blocking 7 because I know that if I give any less than that, we will be dealing with a Zeppelin on hit.
And I'm fumbling my unicycle activation because I'm just so eager to get this Zeppelin hit. But no, we figure out there's no way around it. Finlay has correctly blocked around Zeppelin, which should afford you some form of achievement in Flesh and Blood, honestly, because most people can't do it.
The trick with Zeppelin obviously being just block its base damage +2 if you want to ensure that there's no on hit. It's a bit easier to think about than Dovetail, for example, which is there's so many different variations of Dovetail and what it can do. It's hard to think about. And I'd imagine there's another instant in my hand to bounce this Gone in a Flash. It really shows how when you find a Gone in a Flash early as a game in a game as Oscilio, you get so much value out of this one card, especially when you can be reasonably confident that your opponent isn't playing CNC. It always remains safe in the arsenal.
Yeah, for sure.
A bit lazy of me to not represent Volzar here, because I could have Consigned to Cosmos Shock. Maybe it's giving a bit of a tell for no reason. That's very minor, though.
Yeah, it's something that I struggled with playing Oscilio. Is I started only tracking my Volzar on turns where I knew I had to spell, so it was quite obvious to my opponent.
I think that if you get to that level, it probably is quite a big deal, because it's too obvious.
Yeah,
but
sure. Not something you have to worry about on Talishar, but when you start, this is why we get these paper reps, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Here I'm posturing a soup up on defense. These cogs are going to be going anyway. Might as well get the defensive value. Or maybe I'm just thinking the 2 go again is worth more at Finlay's low life total.
Sigil of Aether, not really a sigil you're normally happy to see, but for me, this could convert into a embodiment of lightning just by killing one of my sigil of conductivities.
It being a red soup up makes a lot more sense as to why I chose not to block with it.
Agreed.
Considering you are as low as 9.
Now, from my perspective, I've got Puffin in a pretty good place here. They've kept a full grip, but they have no cogs on board.
Yeah.
It's possible that the hand's quite bricky or full of boost cards. So,
Yeah.
again, another strength of Puffin. The turn cycles can be really quite unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, the boost turns as Puffin, they're pretty good. I say unconditional going again effectively, considering you're playing 60 plus mech cards is nice, but the real power turns are the ones with these big ships like we spoke about. So at least you can be confident that you're not seeing the top level.
Oh, there's my face. Lovely.
So say hello to Finlay there. I think we may have dropped a card on the floor, maybe.
Yeah. So something to ask here then. A card we've not seen across these two matchups is a Golden Skywarden.
Yeah.
That card is pretty good. Is it not in for this matchup?
Maybe not. Maybe I'm trying to stay as aggressive as possible. Maybe we played this matchup a couple of weeks ago now, as of time of recording, and I've sort of been toying with it in and out of these aggro matchups. I originally started cutting it against KO just to try and keep the most aggressive 60 cards that I can, but I think we've eventually landed on the fact that when it lines up, it's just that powerful that you get the get that really efficient defensive value. I mean, I've had Skywardens block for 6-7 at this point, so blocking a full Wild Ride or something can be convincing enough.
I mean, it is an absolute menace when I'm playing Marlin, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, we're talking about Puffin's sort of turn cycling consistency. Sometimes she will draw big ship, Skywarden, and not be able to convert more than a 7.
Yeah, for sure. So I think Skywarden definitely gets that little extra value when you play it alongside the Crown of Dominion. Works slightly better because you are more likely to have more cog generation in the deck, if you see what I mean. But say maybe it's good enough. And here we have like Finlay said, a real brick turn here, right?
Yeah.
Where we've got no cogs, the backspin thrust, only the second time we've seen it across these couple of games, and it's just going to be pitching for a dovetail that's not really going to be doing anything.
Yeah, it's very good for me that we had no cog generation this turn, no cog in the machine. And, you know, there were 2 boost cards presented, but it could have been much worse on a 5-card hand. No throttle, for example. Yeah.
I think we were slightly red flooded here as well by the looks of it. Like I say, even a copper cog would mean that this Fast and Furious would be a little extra damage, and it would unlock the unicycle as well. Maybe an indictment on myself for my own gameplay this game that we've ended the game with unicycles still up.
And the other thing,
the time I could use it.
The other thing I'm noting is that the bodge is still up, but I cannot say if that is due to my skill of playing around it or if the hand's just lined up that way. You know, like it is really tricky to say.
Sometimes these games happen, right? Where you just you don't end up with the luxury of breaking it because the sink below doesn't end up next to the flash of the Sigil of Brilliance, and only one Sigil of Brilliance draw happens, for example. The CLVs don't get played, etc.
Yeah. And here the classic Sigil of Aether play of pinging yourself to break your conductivity unlocks my turn with this embodiment of lightning. And life totals are getting very dicey now. Callum probably wants to prioritise blocking physical damage at this point because the lower he gets, the more risky it is to have this kind of wizard kill happen.
Yeah.
Blast to Oblivion immediately draws a block.
Say much harder for Oscilio to kill someone from 11 than it is 5, for example.
Yeah.
But,
recreating the embodiment here.
like you said, getting that gone in a flash early, really allowing for. It almost feels like having a weapon, right?
Yeah, it's so strong, and the fact that this is the same gone in a flash, it must be played over 10 times this game. You know, it's so much value.
So I think I remember this turn cycle where I'm trying to play around. The big spell, Comet Storm.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to go. I think I would have to go to 8 here, right, to die to Comet Storm. So.
Yeah, and well done, because you know I have a blue in my hand, of course.
Yeah,
so like,
sure.
Yeah.
However, taking this damage down this low against Oscilio is always scary. He has his ways of getting you. And Finlay saying he's happy to say goodbye to the Gone in a Flash.
Yeah, it was Gone in a Flash's time, I think. Like, I know that I have shocks left in my deck, and I know that Callum's on 0 AB, so it seems like it's the highest efficiency line for me to just push as much as possible.
And look, there's even a chance here that I don't have any follow-up to this throttle, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is I've got to make you think I do. So I boost it, and we see what happens.
Do you think... yeah, okay. We see another Oscilio activation?
We spoke about earlier, the games are fast, so my deck count doesn't particularly matter, so we'll boost at any opportunity that we can. Feeling pretty good about Finny using Oscilio's hero ability. Think he's trying to dig for some block cards. However, the shock comes in. So the arcane damage really getting me in the end there. But look, a good close game, and not the most convincing combo turn even. Right?
No,
like
but it's enough damage and tempo. I was going to say, do you think... We've played this matchup a fair amount. It's pretty volatile. Like, again, Oscilio in general is a volatile deck. Puffin is able to present a lot of damage. Which game of the two do you think is more representative?
I think I definitely had some very, very powerful turns in the first game. I think I had some powerful turns in this game as well. I think it's pretty... you could probably draw some data between the amount of games that you win as Puffin in this matchup and the amount of Zeppelins you resolve. Yeah. Because I think the Zeppelins really weren't there for me in this game, whereas in the first game I definitely hit with a few. And like you said, the Palantirs, like, sometimes they feel like they're not the most powerful big ship, whereas definitely in games against your Earth heroes, for example, they're super, super important.
Yeah.
But in these aggro races, you'd almost rather be resolving Zeppelins, unless you're taking a really vital equipment piece from Oscilio. And
game 2, obviously, again, a game where Bodge wasn't activated, which is just critical, you know, that's like 100%. A whole 3 value not extracted. 100%.
And like I say, you even had a slightly better start in the first game as well, right? Mind warping me on turn 0. So
much better.
Hitting a bit of a dent in me, but look, the game just... That's the way with these sort of aggressive mirrors. The top 4 cards of the deck often spell out how the games are going to go.
Yeah, it's true.
We saw Gone in a Flash early this game. We kept it, unlike in the first game.
Yeah.
So managed to convert the game. But yeah, these were a couple of really fun games. Be interested to see if you decide to take Oscilio.
Yes, maybe. It's a very tough deck, to be honest, Oscilio, but you've got to keep your pivots open.
Yeah, we've got a bank of pivots in the CupofTCG camp, and I'm giving them all to the rest of the team at this point because I don't really want to play anything else. I'm just enjoying Puffin at the moment. So yeah. But guys, thanks for watching. We are going to have a couple more videos in this series, I'm sure. We just can't get enough of CC. Silver Age is on the horizon, though, so keep an eye out for that. Again, thanks, guys, and we will see you in the next video.
Cheers.
Peace.